Hello! In this video, I am going to be showing you how to use VUEjs to retrieve values from user profiles in SharePoint. In my previous video, I showed how to use vanilla JavaScript to retrieve first name, last name, and preferred name from SharePoint, from the user properties, profile properties. So I'm going to do this with Vue in this video. So let's go to the code. So in the code, here is my Vue profile HTML. It's really no different from the HTML from last week. The only difference is you have to surround whatever you're going to be coding between a div tag, ID equal to app, or whatever name you want to give it. And then I have these expressions that is grabbing data from my instance in Vue, which I'm going to get to in a second. I have my Axios. I'm still using Axios. I have my ES6 promise library, and then I have my Vue library. That's important to have. And then I have my JavaScript library, file that has all my JavaScript, all my Vue. So let's go there, and as you can see, it's empty. So let's go ahead and create this. So what we're going to do is new Vue and we're going to connect it to our div that's called app. So we're just telling that this is where we want all our data to be rendered. And then we have our data property, which is an object function. And then we're going to say return, and we're going to say preferred, I want to make sure I don't spell anything wrong. First name, and then we have last name. So what I'm doing is in my instance, in my data property, I am creating these variables, you can call it data properties, that I am going to be populating once I start getting data from the user profile properties in SharePoint. So now what we're going to do now, let's make sure I got the right, okay. So now we're going to call the instance. So created, the lifecycle hook, excuse me. This dot get user profile. Now, if you remember in the last video, because in my last video, we used this ify statement here, and the ify statement somehow behaves, or should I say, the created lifecycle hook in Vue behaves sort of like the ify function. The lifecycle hook is used to run code after the instance is created, and this sort of behaves the same way as well. The ify, once this has been created or initialized, it automatically fires and calls this function. So we're sort of doing the same thing with the created lifecycle hook. Once this instance has been created, it's going to call this method. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to go define our method. So we have a methods section here, and then we're going to say, let me just copy this, copy, paste. Then we're going to say function, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my other JavaScript file, and I'm just going to copy this portion here, because this is exactly what I'm doing, and with just a few minor changes. Okay, so let me go back here, and I'm just gonna paste that in here. Now, what do we need to change? The first thing we need to change is this document that get elements by ID first name, and this is the beauty of Vue. I don't have to use this anymore because I've already defined what I need in my data property. So we're going to change this to first name, and we can just say first name whenever you are referencing any of these properties here. Anything in an instance, you have to use this. So we're going to prefix this, our first name, with this dot. So it's going to be this dot first name equal to property that comes. So then we're going to do the same thing here. Last name. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So the beauty about Vue, excuse me, is that you don't have to mess with the DOM. Vue sort of takes care of that for you. And there you have it. So let's refresh the page. Let's see what happens. So it's blank, and I think I know why. So another thing that we need to do here is, the reason is because this Axios that get this is it's in its own scope, so it doesn't recognize the outside scope. It's not going to recognize preferred name, first name, last name, even though I use this. So there are two things you can do. One, you can say var that equal to this, so that way you can grab the scope from the outside and bring that in. Paste, save, and let's see what happens now. And that's showing up. Preferred name is not showing up. Let's see what's going on. Preferred name. So preferred name. Okay, so let's see. Okay, oh, that looks good. Preferred. Oh, I spelled it wrong, that's why. Save, okay. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, I spelled it wrong. This is the wrong spelling. So that's the first method we can do, is we can to bring the scope inside of this scope, the outside scope inside of Axios is going to be var that equal to this, or we can just use the what's it called? The arrow function here. And you know, the arrow function automatically brings the outside scope as a reference so that you can use it. So what let's change this to arrow. Let's get rid of this. Let's still use this. And let's make this the arrow function. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to remove the keyword function, and then we're going to say do this, save, and this should still work. And as you notice, I have this here. It can now have access to the outside scope. So let's come in here, refresh, and there you have it. Still works. So that's how that works in Vue. I hope that makes sense. My next video will be how to do this in React. Thanks for watching. Bye.